Should Penn State be the favorite to win the national championship and also the favorite to win the Big Ten? Now, given James Franklin's reputation, I think that question is understandably approached with severe caution. But think about it this way. Penn State is bringing back a mammoth of talent. Yes, they lose Abdul Carter and they lose Tyler Warren. But let me tell you the players who they are returning so far, not including, Harrison Wallace III and Amari Evans, who entered the portal. I really didn't like the fact that Harrison Wallace III entered the portal. Thought he was going to have a big year next year, but maybe he'll come back. Maybe he's just testing the market. Who knows? They're returning on offense. Liam Clifford, Drew Shelton, Olivega Ione, Nick Dawkins, Anthony Donko, Khalil Dinkins, who played at tight end significantly, although he wasn't a starter, Drew Allar, Nicholas Singleton, and Kaytron Allen. They're returning a lot of players on offense. On defense, they're bringing back Dani Dennis-Sutton, Zane Durant. They're bringing back Tony Roas. They're bringing back Kobe King. They're returning A.J. Harris, Zion Tracy, Zaki Wheatley, and then they're bringing back Smith Vilbert. I think they're bringing back Amin Vanover and Keziah Izzard, and just so many different players on defense, offense. Riley Thompson will be back at punter, and Ryan Barker will be back at kicker. Penn State's in a prime position to finally take that next step forward under Franklin that they have been waiting to do so for so long. So we're going to be talking about the Nittany Lions here, but let's talk about before we do so, before we talk about the Penn State Nittany Lions, I encourage you, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the channel, to hit the notification bell, to like the video, and to comment your thoughts down below. I mean, do you think that Penn State can win it all in 2025? Or maybe the question should be phrased, will they win it all in 2025? What do you think? I want to hear your thoughts, so list them below. If you want to support the channel, the links to the Patreon page and merchandise store are in the description or pinned comment. And I highly encourage you to join our Discord server if you haven't already, where we talk college football 24/7. With Penn State, though, getting back on topic, they're upgrading their roster. They're upgrading their staff. And they're upgrading their roster because they're returning a lot. They've consistently recruited at a good level. More so, I think the biggest thing with Penn State is Chuck Losey is an elite strength and conditioning coach. Dion Barnes and Phil Trotween have been wonderful coaches on the lines of scrimmage. Ty Howell has done a phenomenal job developing tight ends and stacking tight ends. And you look at, on the defensive side of the ball, I think Terry Smith's done a good job at DB. And Kotelnicki has revolutionized this offense. I mean, Penn State had no great receivers. Harrison Wallace was the only wide receiver who I thought was just good. But Liam Clifford, Amari Evans, and then Julian Fleming, and so many of these other receivers that we could mention, I think the room needed a full-on reset, if I'm being honest. It suffered from poor coaching year over year over year. And I think that they just needed a straight-up reset right there. So even with the losses there, look, Penn State's bringing in transfers at wide receiver that I think will be better than what we saw in 2024. For example, they're bringing in Devontae Ross from Troy, and they're bringing in Kyron Hudson from USC. Now, Kyron Hudson has a very high ceiling, and I think he'll be wide receiver 1 for the Nittany Lions this coming season. He had 462 receiving yards on 38 receptions for 3 touchdowns, 12.2 yards per reception. His biggest game of the season was against LSU to kick off the year with 83 receiving yards, including an amazing one-handed catch and 5 receptions. And then Devontae Ross from Troy is a receiver that many other Power 4 programs could have gone after. He had 1,043 receiving yards, 11 receiving touchdowns, 13.7 yards per reception on 76 receptions. He had 142 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns against Iowa. He cooked Iowa's secondary. Now, Iowa's secondary this season was not the same as in previous seasons, but it was still a really good secondary full of NFL talent. So I believe that at the end of the day, Penn State, whether it's addition by subtraction, whether the receiver room is actually thinner than it was this year in terms of number of names, but it's better in terms of quality, or whether they They have better depth, and they're just better in every single way, in both just number of names there, or number of names there means like how many players are in the wide receiver room, so quantity. They're better in quantity and quality. I think regardless, they'll be better at the starting positions in 2025. Allar will be in another year under the Kotelnicki system. Same with the entire offense. The offensive line at the end of the year, I think, was the best O-line in the country for Penn State, especially in run blocking. Pass blocking they can improve upon, but it's good that Anthony Dunco, Nolan Rucci, Andrew Shelton all look like they're going to come back. Like, that's really good for what should be one of the best offensive tackle units in the country. And Nick Dawkins and Olavega Ione coming back, along with Dominic Rulli and freshman Cooper Cousins, who will be in another year with the program. That'll be a phenomenal offensive line next year. This year, Franklin had the best offensive line of his Penn State tenure. I think it'll be surpassed by the O-line this coming season. And on defense, look, Dani Dennis-Sutton and Zane Durant returning is huge. Same with a lot of depth players that I didn't think had eligibility, but evidently they do. Both linebackers will be back, including Dominic DeLuca. And then in the secondary room, I'd imagine whoever Penn State hires next at defensive coordinator, whether they promote Anthony Poindexter from within or go out and make an external hire, I imagine the DBs will benefit from the new hiring. I do. I think that Tom Allen going to Clemson was mutually beneficial for both parties, for both the Tigers, who needed a new and better defensive coordinator than Wes Goodwin, and I think Tom Allen was that, and for the Nittany Lions, who have a lot of NFL talent on defense. Like, Roas is a future pro, Kobe King is a future pro, Dani Dennis-Sutton and Zane Durant are future pros. You look at A.J. Harris, future pro. I think that Zakee Wheatley is a future pro, and there are others in the weeds who are younger players who just haven't emerged yet who I think could be future pros. I think that's a coveted defensive coordinator job. We've seen Manny Diaz take it before. Brent Pry was an elite DC at Penn State for many years under Franklin. And Tom Allen this year, I think, boosted his resume enough to where he could go to Clemson and get paid nearly $2 million a year. So Penn State, I think, could hire just about anyone at defensive coordinator. And some of the names would surprise me, but the more I would think about those names, if Penn State, let's say, poached a DC from a similar blue blood caliber program, or even from, a national championship caliber team, the more I think about it, it wouldn't totally surprise me. I think Penn State's going to upgrade at defensive coordinator. Their coaching staff is one of the best of the best. Franklin at this point is the only thing holding Penn State back. It's why they didn't win big games this year. They had questionable management against Oregon, some questionable penalties that just circle back to the head coach and discipline. Same thing against Ohio State. Notre Dame, I think, was more of just the limitations in the passing offense. I didn't see the same terrible play calls in my mind against Notre Dame, or the same stupid penalties, but they did have coverage breakdowns, and they weren't the most disciplined team in that game either. So I think Franklin also has to do some soul searching, look in the mirror, and improve in a variety of areas. But this team should be better in 2025, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say it will be better in 2025 than it was in 2024. They are losing their alien players. That's an area to pay attention to. Like, Abdul Carter is gone, Tyler Warren is gone. So I'm curious if a player like Nicholas Singleton or Dani Dennis-Sutton or A.J. Harris can step in to an alien role. Maybe all three of them, but more likely just one of them. Maybe none of them do. But I'm curious to see, because these national championship caliber teams have alien players. I mean, think about Ohio State this year, or even Notre Dame. Notre Dame is Xavier Watts, and Jeremiah Love's an alien when healthy. Ohio State has potentially Jack Sawyer, but definitely Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. Michigan in 2023 had Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Will Johnson as aliens, all on defense. And depending on who you ask, maybe Colston Loveland. 2022 Georgia had Jalen Carter and Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey with how he's playing in the NFL. He might have been an alien in college. And then in 2021, they had a ton of players like Brock Bowers his true freshman year. They had a ton of athletes everywhere. They had a Marius Mims, I think, in 22 and 21, who was an elite offensive tackle. And then they had Jordan Davis. And then on top of that, They had, I forget who else was in that room. I know they had Jalen Carter. But anyway, not to get too ahead of myself, the national champions typically have like 2 alien players or more. Who can step up and replace Abdul Carter and Tyler Warren in that regard is a question that will be answered in 2025, but I'm curious and want to know who will do that right now. Go Nittany Lions, and I think that Penn State's going to have their best year under Franklin in his career. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and also hit that notification bell so that way you can get notified when new content from College Football with Sam drops. I appreciate you very much, and also share the video around to others who you know enjoy the sport of college football and love it as I do and as you do, and comment your thoughts down below so that we can have a conversation, because I want to know what you are thinking. And join our Discord server where we talk college football 24/7 via the link in the description or down below in the pinned comment. Thank you to my Heisman Patreon members, Crash2488, Brascal Rascal, and Kylo OH. Thank you to my All-American Patreon members, Chris Lane, Ismar, and Tyler Nye. And thank you to my All-Conference members, John Lynn, Roaming Gnome, Matthew Sale, Austin Christmas, Joshua Jorgensen, and Will Loftus. Make sure to check out my merchandise store and or Patreon page, or super chat down in the comment section below to support the channel. The Patreon page and merchandise store links are in the description or down below in the pinned comment. I hope you have a wonderful day. It is December, so Merry Christmas and also Happy New Year. I will see you guys soon.